All right, so welcome back. If you're listening to this through our podcast app or platforms, it's probably not been a big break, but we did take the summer off. So for us, we are kind of excited to get back into the podcasting regularly with the fall coming and, schedules being a little easier to manage. So we are going to jump back in with today's Take Your Health Back Now podcast. We decided just to go with this topic that's like very trending or hot topic right now. Um, Hormones, hormone balancing, aging and hormones, mostly women on this topic. Men can have these symptoms too, but all of this like trending hot news, new products are aimed at women. So we are, of course, going to talk about causes, symptoms, and then how your lifestyle is really the most important piece on balancing these.
Right. And about really resolving what's causing these symptoms rather than just making yourself feel better. So we'll kind of dive in like we always do. So what got us thinking about this as the first topic, like Jenny said, well, first of all, always in our office, we're talking to people, we're helping people that are experiencing all of these hormone imbalance issues.
Right.
But also just the fact that it seems like over the summer, the people we've talked to, there's been more, like it's coming up more. So it could be because it's a hot topic, like Jenny said, or it's just becoming more prevalent, whatever. It's so many women especially are experiencing these things. And then also, like you touched on, the products out there, oh my gosh, there's so many, and it
So
just
many.
as you know, if you've been listening to us. So we've got the whole Ozempic thing with, with weight loss, and now there's other similar products that do the same thing. You've got all of these, testing, medication on the conventional side, and then you've got all of these drops and magic supplements and magic products, and there's just so much right now, and people jump on that.
Right.
And there are great testimonials about them because they do in the moment make you feel better, and they make you feel like you fixed the symptoms. But
Right.
if you're experiencing those symptoms, and we'll talk about that, it means you have internal dysfunction going on in the body. It just does. Even if you feel like you're doing all the right things in your lifestyle and you're still experiencing these, or if you're feeling like you're experiencing the symptoms because you're getting older, whatever, it means you have dysfunction going on. So we'll just kind of break it down.
Hormones change and fluctuate throughout your life.
Right.
For women, hormones change and fluctuate monthly, during when you're in your midlife. But you have those changes on puberty, and then when you kind of get to middle age, a little bit older with menopause, those are changes, and they are a period of like you getting used to new processes, whatever. But it's not like these are the cause of every single symptom that you have, and they shouldn't be. Your body is not designed that way. You don't expect your preteen teenager to have these crazy roller coasters for the rest of their lives, right? You're not giving them hormone supplements to help them deal with it. That these are changes. It's something they're going to balance out as long as they're healthy. It's not going to be those extreme highs and lows. So, change in itself is not a bad thing. It's natural. And if it's extreme change, extreme symptoms, then that it's not just aging or the change. There's something else going on. And if you look back, most likely those symptoms were there and building up until this point, and this is just exacerbating it.
Right. So what we work with all the time, we've worked with the hundreds and hundreds of people over the years, and then just what I see people talking about as well. Okay, so you get symptoms like infidelity, all kinds of infidelity issues.
Infertility, not infidelity.
It's causing you to cheat on your spouse. No.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
Sorry.
But there's a lot of different labels put on that, but people are unable to have children. It's
Yeah.
so hard for them, whether it's low sperm count, it is whatever is going on, on the woman's side. They're having to go through all these drastic measures to even conceive a child and see it through conception, which costs thousands and thousands of dollars, by the way, and the stress and everything else. I mean, that's
More
not
than that in most states. There's actually very few states where it's like covered by health insurance. Illinois is one of them. So the people that we come in contact, the amount that they're paying is actually much lower than general.
right. It's tens of thousands out of pocket. And then just, hormone imbalance, because you go to the doctor, they do testing because you're having physical symptoms, but then they're telling you have hormone imbalance.
Right.
You have high cortisol, you have low estrogen, you have breast cancer, reproductive cancers are attributed to hormone imbalance. Thyroid issues, so many people with thyroid issues. Menopause, premenopause, PMS, girls starting their periods at 8 years old,
Right.
super heavy periods. Then you get these genetic mutations that,
the PCOS.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I talked with somebody this week that had Fragile X gene. I mean, there's so many different things
Right.
that are hormone related, found by testing and labeled. So you have to remember that part too. And just, endometriosis, just there's so many different diseases.
Right.
But then the physical symptoms, and this is where all these products I've seen lately, this is where people think they're fixing their physical symptoms. So you're talking about low energy, can't sleep, low libido, can't lose weight, gaining weight. What else? Oh, facial hair in women is something we see a lot in the clinic. Not a lot, but we see it. Just your emotions, super emotional. I clearly can't talk today. Irritability, anxious,
sensitivity to cold or heat.
right? And then we get these menopausal women in our clinic that are like, no, I have to take off my clothes because I'm so hot. I'm sweating, and hot flashes and night sweats and emotional roller coaster. There's all these things. And those are the true physical symptoms that people are experiencing from hormone imbalance. But hormone imbalance, you have to remember, is not just the endocrine system. It's not, and all hormones aren't even produced in the endocrine system. They're different organs produce hormones, your gut produces hormones, there's many different places, but it all kind of comes back to the internal dysfunction within your body. And that's what people aren't addressing. But we wanted to talk about managing your symptoms, which is what all these products and pills and supplements and magic potions are, or resolving your
and there are some supplementation recommendations that if it's well sourced, if it is something to supplement a plan where you are making change, then it can be useful. But using a supplement or hormone replacement as the solution is just a band-aid. It's just covering it up. If you need to support your body and kind of help with these things that were missing for a long time because you are making change, then that can be warranted. And even in the situation with hormones, there's not a lot that is actually helpful, useful, your body can take up in the right way. But I don't know why, but this is one of those issues that people just see as supplementation is the better choice. Like there's all these natural people, all these people in the same similar space that we're in that are like, it's bioidentical, so it's not really medication, or it's really well sourced, so it's a solution. And I don't know why this topic just gets a lot of noise.
Right. Well, it's easy. I mean, people like easy. It's hard to do all of the deep work to actually resolve, restore health and resolve symptoms. But if it's a product that's actually making you feel better, So it gives you, so these drops I keep saying, or this root brand I've been talking about, that is natural. Well, first of all, natural at this point, you really have to be weary of, because again, that synthetic biology we keep talking about
Right.
creeps into that. And synthetic biology is like GMO 2.0, but remember, it's not labeled, it can be called natural. So even homeopathic remedies, you know, like a homeopathic remedy is an imprint. So if it's an herbal remedy, they take an imprint of the herb, you know, at a very small molecular scale, and it's almost like a memory in a way in the fluid, or like the water that you're
Right.
taking. So it's not like you're taking the herb, it's this imprint. But they can also do that with synthetic biology at this point,
Right.
just as a caveat. But these fixes that we're talking about, they give you the false, and even medications. So whether you're on the natural side of things, like Jenny was talking about, or you're on conventional side, whatever a band-aid fixes or a quick fix, it gives you the false sensation that you are better, because you feel better no matter what it is. You know, if you have a terrible headache and you break down and take some ibuprofen, that didn't fix why you had the headache. Like, why did you have that headache? That's
Right. If you're dehydrated and you take ibuprofen, you will feel better, but you are not hydrated.
right. Or, you know, or I mean, anything, or like these drops, they're just in my head. So they make you feel better. They make you feel like you can manage stress better. They bring that anxiety down a little bit. Now you're losing some weight, but it didn't fix anything. So, you know, another thing to think about with any of these, not only not fixing anything, whatever's causing these symptoms. And if you have symptoms of any kind, you have something going on in your body. So whatever that is growing and festering, and it's going to get bigger and cause more symptoms, other symptoms to develop. But this stuff is expensive.
Right.
I mean, it is expensive. You're talking several $100s a month coming out of your pocket. And if you stop them, any of them, whether it's holistic, whether it's conventional, you stop them, your symptoms come back because you
Right.
didn't anything.
No. So think about your hair. I'm just gonna go here.
Good analogy.
So this, I mean, hair color is not something you can change with, you know, lifestyle. But anyway, so you have some gray hair, right? You start covering it up, and you have to keep covering it up because otherwise roots grow. So those roots are still there. You are just covering it to make it look nicer. Then you go 4 years and you're coloring your hair constantly, always covering up these roots. You know they're there, they bother you, but you're just covering them so it looks better. You feel better about the way you look. And then you just decide not to do it. And then when you're done, you pull all that color out and now your whole head is gray, right? It's more than when you started. The color didn't help anything. It didn't fix anything. Those roots are still there and those roots are still growing. Yeah, fine. People's hair changes. Obviously, I like coloring my hair. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's a really good analogy. Like there are roots, they're growing. You just don't see them when you've covered them up. But if you haven't, you know, you stop taking that supplement for a little while, you're going to start feeling those symptoms. So then you cover it back up again. And by the time you're down the road, there's so much underneath that it becomes so hard to manage, and you're not really any better than you were to begin with.
Right. Even like on the topic of beauty, I don't know how. I mean, but it's all the same. People want a quick fix. They want something easy. So even with all of these aging things right now that are out there, you know, people are getting filler, and very young fillers in their lips, and you know, I don't even know what everybody's getting, but you know, all these things to make your wrinkles go away. But
Yeah.
whatever you're doing, if you stop doing it, it's the same thing. If you stop doing it, eventually it's all gonna, you know, because you didn't address the problem. So hopefully you get what we're saying. Oh, here's my analogy for the day. I thought, so if your foundation, if you know anything about building or, you know, a home, we all live in a home. If your foundation is falling in or unlevel or whatever's happening, you'll start seeing cracks on your ceiling or cracks in your walls. Well, if you keep just spackling them, okay, that makes it better for a short time, but if it's still caving in underneath, you're gonna get cracks again. You're gonna keep spackling them. It didn't fix anything. It just made it look better in the short term. And eventually your whole house is gonna cave in. I mean,
Right, and that foundation is usually not something you see. It's not the part
Right.
you're looking at. It's not the part that's bothering you, but you know that's the root cause. You know, that's the roots are usually covered up, hidden underneath where you're growing from. So that's why I think that's why all of these products are really aimed at beauty, vanity, you know, your weight, your wrinkles, your even your for women, your personality. Like you don't want to be high strung or crabby because, you know, that's awful and off-putting. So they're all of these things that we put out there to the world is what they're focusing on because that's where it makes a change. But you know that that's internal. Like your skin didn't just suddenly get crepey and wrinkly on your by itself. Like it came from somewhere, right?
Right.
Your body can't just gain weight from nowhere. Like it's coming from somewhere. So none of these things are addressing that. The hormone replacement is simply a more high level supplement. You're still not finding out what caused that hormone to be out of balance, to be low, like thyroid. If you ever ask your doctor if you're on thyroid medication, like, what is the long-term goal of this medication? Is it repairing anything? No. Okay, well, what caused this to happen? I don't know, but it's there. Those will be their answers because that's conventional wisdom. You don't really need to look for that root cause because we have something that will cover it up.
Right. And just on the hormones, like say thyroid, for instance, if you're constantly doing a hormone replacement, even if it's bioidentical, um, your body's like, oh, I don't have to make this.
Right.
Being made for me. So then it will stop. So we work with people that are having thyroid issues all the time, and we see this come back into balance, but it takes a long time because first of all, just that healing process. And then the fact that now you're coming off your thyroid medication and your thyroid's like, oh, I have to produce something now. I mean, it's a long process, but it is completely doable to turn around. So that's something to think about. The other thing with the bioidentical hormones, again, a lot of them now are the synthetic biology. So you either have synthetic or you have synthetic biology. Or like in the instance of thyroid, a bioidentical or the, you know, more natural approach, it comes from desiccated pig thyroid gland. So how do you feel about that? And the pigs these are conventionally grown pigs.
Worse than conventional because they're medically raised.
Right, they're medically raised, they're very sick, they're very stressed, their hormones are through the roof and completely unbalanced because of the situation they're living in, and then they're taking that gland and desiccating it and now giving it to you. So it is not a good option either way. But the problem with all of this is that you have to do the work, and it's harder work to, you know, do all the things to fix it, even though it's completely doable. And I did want to mention too, with homeopathic remedies, the reason they work is it's called an adaptogen. So your body adapts to it. And it's kind of like if you see a wave going up and down, you know, like a frequency wave going like this, it kind of just takes the top off. So if you are high in estrogen and low in something else, it takes that top off. So it lowers your estrogen, raises the whatever else you were low in, or maybe you're high in cholesterol or cortisol, lowers that, which makes you feel better, which then makes you be able to lose weight or, you know, whatever the symptom is. But again, it just kind of topped it off. It didn't fix anything. So hopefully that kind of helps with that. But yeah, you have to fix the why. You always have to look at the why. Why do you have these issues? And I also think that a lot of people that are experiencing symptoms like low energy, they're not sleeping the greatest, they're not losing the weight they want to, they just think it's aging, and they feel like they're doing the right things with their, their lifestyle. And so they feel like those are just, it's just like an extra bonus to get rid of those symptoms. But those symptoms are really showing you that there's dysfunction in the body. I don't even think people quite understand that.
No, because that is the why for a lot of people.
Right.
The why am I feeling this is because I'm getting older, but that's not that you have to get out of that mindset. Aging doesn't cause those symptoms. Like, again, there is some change with age, but it shouldn't be that extreme. It shouldn't bring your quality of life down that much. Um, and it's not a why. It's not.
Right. But then that's a big mindset shift.
Yeah,
because people
for a
don't
lot of people.
understand that. So, we always like to say the cause is actually the cure. So when you really deep dive into why you're experiencing these symptoms, which is of course what we do, so that's why we talk about it all the time. But you've got to really keep digging. Well, why do you have those symptoms? Okay, well, why do you have the hormone imbalance? Because even hormone imbalance, that is caused by something. Why do you have that? Well, then that goes down to gut health. Okay, well, why do you have that? Let's fix that. You have to keep going all the way down. So there are 3 causes, which is also, of course, the cure. You've got internal dysfunction, which is leaky gut, dysbiosis, infections, which cause all kinds of havoc in your body. And remember, all the systems in your body work together.
Yeah.
So your endocrine system and your nervous system work simultaneously together to make all of these functions in your body. But your nervous system and your gut health are like this, linked together, working together. So if your gut health is, excuse me, if you're having problems there, it's causing a problem with your nervous system, which is then directly influencing your endocrine system.
Right.
So you've got to remember too that it's not just your endocrine system. It's everything functioning and how it relates to each other. But yeah, the internal dysfunction, you've got external toxins. So that's a huge piece of the hormone imbalance, is the external toxins, because there are excuse me, and lifestyle and diet always comes down to environment, lifestyle, and diet. But there are so many toxins in every aspect of our lives right now.
Oh, crazy.
Endocrine disruptors, estrogen mimickers. I mean, there's just so much. So you have to address that. So again, these people that are taking these quick fixes of whatever it is, it's so that they can continue this lifestyle that's convenient to them. That they like. It's comfortable.
Yes, we are willing to pay money for convenience. Like, that is just human nature.
Right.
And when it comes to your health, you have to get rid of that mindset. Like, like you said, some of the stuff is expensive. It's not even like a little money. It's a lot, and it's continuous, and it will increase. It's not like as you use these supplements, you will be able to taper off because you're getting better. You will need more because you adapt to them and
Right.
things are getting worse. And it is crazy how much people are willing to pay, like, bit by bit. When we say things like invest in yourself, get a program, get a mentor, get a guide, this may look like a big chunk of money up front. But that's it. It's like an investment and then it's gone. You're supporting that lifelong. It's so much better value than this constantly increasing, creeping cost for healthcare, supplements, whichever side you're on. Like, they're not going to go away. They're not going to decrease if you're not changing anything.
Right. And just, okay, so we were talking about herbal supplements, we were talking about medications, but things like, you hear a lot of times, I'm vitamin B12 deficient. You hear that all the time. That's
Very common.
or vitamin D deficient. Okay, well, why? Why are you? Because that's not normal. Well,
Right.
Vitamin B12 part of it is made in the gut. So if you don't have a healthy gut, you're not having that in the first place. If you have infections, your bacterial imbalance is eating, those nutrients before you are. Also, this vegan lifestyle that so many people have, vitamin B12 comes from animal protein. I mean, it just does. That's where it comes from. Animal protein. So if you are eating vegan, you're not getting it on top of everything else. And it has a direct relationship with the hormones. So I think it's B12. I wrote it down. B12, yeah, B12 actually regulates the amount of estrogen in the body. So if you are really low in B12, that's going to contribute to high estrogen. And then like vitamin D3. Okay, you're low in that. Why? Is it because you never go outside? Because we should synthesize enough when we go outside and we're in the sun. But if you have imbalances in the gut, then that can also affect it. So there's just so much, and that you have to remember that it's not just one thing. It goes very deep, and it's many different things. And then the third we kind of got off. So it's internal dysfunction, external toxins, and then stress. And stress is a huge piece. And you have to look at your lifestyle and see where those stressors are. So even if you're eating as clean as you possibly could, if you've eliminated all these environmental toxins in your life, everything, but you have a super high stress job, you have a stressful relationship, you have just stressful coworkers, you're just go all the time, you are in emergency response all the time. And if you are in emergency response, your body is not going to produce, like dopamine and serotonin to make you feel good. No, that's not the priority. You're going to be high cortisol, emergency hormones only. You're going to be constipated. You're going to be, not able to sleep. You're going to be irritable. You're going to be anxious. You're going to be depressed, all these things. So stress is just as important.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest piece for people.
Right.
You have to make sometimes huge lifestyle changes. So we've seen people in our office that, there's been a few divorces once they, not that we were recommending,
Right.
but they
Major
had
job changes, moving house, like
Right.
all kinds of big changes. And really, it may not be that extreme that you need to do it, but for a lot of people, it's that little step of just acknowledging it and working on mindset. Like that is a hurdle for so many people. It may not seem like as huge as, a divorce or a move or new job, but it's a big change for a lot of people. Even just giving themselves the space to like be healthy and to rest is against so many like societal norms right now. It can be difficult.
And really saying, I need this time for me. I mean, that's a big piece of it. I mean, if you have 4 teenagers in your house, you have a corporate job, you've got a husband, you've got to also make all the food, you're running to all the games, you're spending money on all the things for the kids, and you're go, and you never taking any time for yourself. You're in that fight or flight all the time. And so you have to also address that. So those 3 things. And then just to break it down a little bit. So the internal dysfunction is kind of what we talked about. So internal dysfunction would be all these stressors are coming in. Now you've got leaky gut. So when the toxins are coming into your body, they're seeping out in the blood where they shouldn't be. And then that causes all kinds of havoc. You've got infections, you've got dysbiosis. So the bacterial imbalances, that's also a toxin to your body.
Normal detox systems are not working correctly. So
Right.
you cannot get rid of these toxins like you normally would be able to do. It's all clogged up or overflowing.
Right. And another thing that we see a lot on tests is that people have something called beta glucuronidase, which is an enzyme made by a bacteria, and that particular bacteria happens to reside in the top of the GI tract near the liver. So when you're, say you're in your food, in your water, what you're putting on your skin, your products are coming in, they're going through the liver to be, you know, the detoxification process. They come out, well, then that beta glucuronidase is sitting right there, and the liver chops up these, you know, toxins or proteins, whatever they are, to then send them out the GI tract. But that enzyme trains them all back up and then sends them back into the blood. So there's this constant recycling of toxins that just build up and build up and build up. And that's a huge part of weight gain and ability to lose weight, because your body's holding on to these toxins because they're poisons in your body, but they're never being released because they're constantly being recycled. So that's something that a lot of people are experiencing that they have no idea. Thyroid issues, there's a lot of reasons for thyroid issues, but one of the big ones is gluten. And nobody talks about the fact that there's gluten in all grains and legumes. There's a little bit, or there's gluten, you know, the protein looks so similar that, you know, chocolate can look like gluten. So then your body's like, oh, this is gluten. But then you're getting an autoimmune response to that to get rid of it. And then it's attacking your thyroid as well. So there's that, but that's all the internal stuff that's going on with people. And then it causes inflammation, you know, wow. So, but then the external toxins, diet, lifestyle, and environment. Okay, I have a list here. But I mean, this is a short list. Look at my list. That's a short list. So tampon, shampoo, conditioner, personal care products, makeup, tap water, contacts, cell phones, toilet paper, receipts, plastics. What else? Vinyl shower curtain, mattresses, pillows, mattress pads, comforter, food packaging. I mean, it goes on and on. Pesticides are a huge one. If you live on a farm or in a farming community,
Right.
You know, it's on our food, it's in the air. BPA free. What else? Dioxin, atrazine, phthalates, fire retardants, lead, arsenic, mercury. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. You cannot escape it. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And so you have to, you know, a big part of what we do is help you identify every area of your environment where you have control over to eliminate these things. So then your body can deal with what is out of our control.
Right. Like, 'cause some of these things are just persistent, and that's really scary. But, you know, if you can make the change in your environment, then you're giving yourself, you know, the optimal situation to be healthy. If you're just gonna stick your head in the sand and say it's too much, it's too scary, then of course you're gonna feel badly. You're gonna age badly. You're gonna have symptoms because you're not doing what you can to provide that optimal environment.
And it's a lot. It's overwhelming. We see this all the time. Again, why a system is great, because you can just go through it and it's already been done for you and you just have to do it. But you know, these are endocrine disruptors. They disrupt the whole endocrine system. You've got estrogen mimickers. So if you think about with your hormones, there's like if you think about a keyhole, you know, in the door.
Mhm.
So that's the hormone receptor in your body, and they're all over your body. So your hormones are floating around, you know, your body releases the hormones floating around, like say estrogen. Here's the estrogen hormone, you know, receptor. So the estrogen comes in and fits perfect, like a key. Well, so many of those things that I just read off are estrogen mimickers. So they look like the estrogen. So they will come through and they're floating through your blood because you have leaky gut. So they're floating through and they fit in those hormone receptors sites. So they're there now. So now you've got the real estrogen coming through and it has nowhere to go.
Or you are so young, you shouldn't have all that estrogen, or you're male and shouldn't have all that estrogen. And now you have things filling that in that shouldn't be there.
Right. And estrogen, you know, that's a big part of why breast cancer is so prevalent, is these endocrine disruptors, these estrogen mimickers, and also the abundance of estrogen in your system. Because what estrogen is for is to make cells. So that is what it's for. You know, you're growing a baby, you're making cells. That's what it's for. So it will make all of these extra cells and develops into breast cancer. So that's just something to think about. But you know, we have things like testicular cancer and prostate cancer and low sperm count and
Right, and
bone
breast
marrow.
cancer is increasing in men, and like we have all like people, girls are hitting puberty when they're 8 or 9. Like these are clearly tied to artificial hormones, which would be the mimickers, not them taking hormones. That's not what I mean. We're talking about like what Kendra said. It's there, it's artificial, but it's the same. So your body sees it the same and uses it when it wouldn't normally be there.
Right, and it's everywhere, so you really have to address it. So you can see what we were talking about in the beginning with these Band-Aid fixes, whatever they may be, whether they're holistic or they're, you know, pharmaceutical. All of these things you have to address, internal, external, in your stress on top of it. So if you use this fix, like I think you, Jenny said in the very beginning, to make you feel better, to get you over that hump, okay, but you've got to address all of these in order to resolve what is happening in your body. So hopefully that's making sense. It's a lot, but also even like your cell phones. Cell phones affect the mitochondria, which is the energy production of the cells, slows everything down. It affects everything. It's linked to prostate cancer. It's linked to breast cancer. So, I mean, that's something else to consider. And that's, you know, all around us. Is there anything else that you had thought of?
No, actually,
Trying to see if there's
I think we
anything.
touched on the main things we wanted to touch on, that you have to look at the roots, that if something has so many products, so many different people, companies, creators talking about it, then that's probably a good indicator that you should look deeper.
Oh,
Like,
that's a good example.
yeah.
So, okay, these drops that just had me going this week. A couple weeks ago it was Ozempic. I always get wound up on something.
Yeah.
So I looked up the company because I always dive deep, you know, looking up the source, deep, deep, deep. Okay, so the company was started in 2023. That was last year. It is now a global trillion-dollar company, maybe billion, whatever, doesn't matter at that point.
A lot.
Right. But that doesn't happen in a year.
No.
Unless if you are truly sourcing the way you should, you know, if you start looking deep, that should make you question. Or this other brand that's everybody's talking about right now. First of all, it's like $150 per bottle, and they have lots of different concoctions for you to take, but they have 18 patents on these already. Yeah. And remember, if you're going and getting herbs from your garden, you can't patent that.
No.
Yes, those help. Those are good. Adaptogen, like we were talking about, while you do all these other things. But when you have patents on things, you have to think about it because it means a lot. It means there was a whole process. It means it's not all natural.
Right. It's not something that could just happen spontaneously or in nature. It's not just a very simple combination of something natural. It has to be very unique, and it has to be something that would not be like, stumbled upon easily in order to get a patent. So it has to be pretty, as far as things we ingest, pretty highly manufactured to get a patent. And it's also a long process. So it kind of clues you in that maybe this company was not registered until recently, but clearly this research has been going on. And things have been registered and things have been manufactured and processed before that. Like you can't, I mean, it takes more than a year to grow a beautiful garden. You might be able to start it, but you can't just magically have all this stuff available. And the ones you're talking about, like there's so many being sold, like the quantity of ingredients is kind of mind-boggling.
Right. And usually when you have large amounts being sold, the quality of the sourcing goes down. I mean, it just does because
It has to.
yeah, you can't get that much natural source. And if you think about, I mean, it all comes back to nature. So everything, as long as we're doing the three things that we talked about and you're in optimal health, and then if you need herbal remedies, if you need medicinal plants, everything was designed, is purposely designed for us. So if we use those, they're great help, to help with that headache, or if you have a stomach ache. I mean, things happen, right? No matter how healthy you are. So, it helps with that. But when you get a product, like stevia, I always use that as an example. It is a plant, and it's a green leaf. You buy in the store, it's a white powder. Think of all the processing that had to happen to make that. It's not the same compound.
Or even the idea of gum in oral health. Like throughout human history, we have chewed plant saps,
Right.
gums, like natural. And, people didn't have these major dental issues prior to current times. And now the gum that's available is all artificial, all sugar, all disgusting. And you can see that change. Like we take things that are natural, that we're instinctually, we know are good, that have had positive impacts in our history. And then someone figures out how to make them patentable and then how to make money off of them. And then we just forget about the natural source.
Right. Well, that's kind of off topic. That's so true. Like pine resin and beeswax throughout thousands and thousands of years in history.
Yeah.
We're going to do one on dental health, by the way, the podcast, because the reason we have all these.
Yeah. And it touches every topic of everything we talk about.
Right. I did want to say I had written down what endocrine disruptors are, because we mentioned what estrogen mimickers are, but endocrine disruptors they increase production of certain hormones. They do the same on the opposite side. They decrease production of certain hormones. They imitate hormones. They turn one hormone against another. They interference with other hormone signaling.
Yeah.
Tell cells to multiply. They're binding to essential hormones. There's all these things. Accumulation of fat cells, like I said, but the endocrine disruptors are these chemical toxins coming in. So just keep that in mind. That's what they're doing. But that's why you have to actually take them out. I think that was basically it. But the takeaway is just, if these make you feel better, do it for the short term. Make sure it's a really good source. Make sure it's organic, homeopathic, fine. But then you have to do all of this in order to resolve your health. And when you resolve your health, you don't need any of that. Like just menopause as an example. We've worked with so many women going through menopause and perimenopause, and even really young age, like in their 30s. You shouldn't be going through that at that point. But as your body becomes, comes into balance, and that's what it's all about. Once it comes into balance and is healing, all those symptoms go away.
Right.
And they just do. In my 40s, when I was in a really stressful situation, I was having night sweats. Oh my God. Like I would wake up and my sheets would be soaking wet. And, and just all of a sudden you get hot during the day and that kind of thing. And once I got out of that situation, so that was a stressor on my part. I was doing everything else. Everything went away. So then when I went through menopause, maybe too much information for you.
I don't think so. Like I said, everyone's talking about this right now.
Yeah, but literally I had no symptoms. Like there was not one bad symptom to the whole experience for me ever once I got past that. And that was just taking myself out of a very stressful situation. But
and a lot of people see menopause as like this separate thing, but like we have been mentioning, all of your hormones throughout your whole life are tied to this situation. So, issues with your menstrual cycles, issues with fertility, these things are all tied in. They all go together with perimenopause and menopause. It's the same systems in the body controlling these. So, You know, when we're talking about hormones, the big hot topic right now is, you know, people in perimenopause and menopause and dealing with the weight and the hot sweats. But it starts a lot earlier than that. So if you're listening to this and you're maybe not to that point, make sure you pay attention, because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not there yet, so I don't have hormone issues.
But if you fix it now,
Yeah.
you never will.
Right.
And you know, we're not just spouting off. This is years and years and years of working with people. We've seen people, like I said, with menopause. We've had people that we've worked with that had had infertility issues for years. And then all of a sudden, magically, they got pregnant once they started healing. You know, with weight loss. We've even had spouses of the actual person we were working with. If the spouse did it, you know, did the program along with them, they lost. One husband lost 75 pounds working with him. But, you know, we see it over and over and over again. And so we know that this works. And then as long as you maintain it, you don't have to deal with any of that for a life. But yeah, that's pretty much it. But hopefully this helps so that you guys understand. Lose the quick fix.
Right.
You know, it's not going to help anything. And then you're all of a sudden going to have so many symptoms popping up.
You can look for things to support you, people, programs, products, but there are no quick fixes. Something else is not going to fix you. If you don't make change, there will be no change.
Right. And also one other quick thing we didn't really mention, but testing. Testing is such a big deal right now, especially with hormonal issues. That just think about, okay, so you get the testing. Even our functional testing, you just get the testing. What does that do for you? Is that going to help you at all? No, it's not. It doesn't give you any solution.
Information, like we like to say all the time, information is not power. Information plus action is power.
Right. Information is information. Information plus action is transformation.
Yeah.
You know, it's so just think about that. And that's fine if you want the testing, but then what are you going to do? You've got to think about that. You've got to do something past that point. So of course, if you want a proven system, we already have it. Or there's other people, but don't just do testing. Don't just do the quick fix. Don't do my testing told me I'm deficient in these vitamins. Don't stop there, because that's also a quick fix. So hopefully this helped. If you have questions, of course, reach out.
Right. And if you want to watch these live, you can always join our private Facebook group. We go live when we record these, and you can comment. We haven't done it in a while for this episode, so there was not very many people live watching or commenting, but you can be there, and then we will post these on all of our podcast platforms. Of course, if this resonated with you, subscribe, like, follow, and if you feel like someone else could benefit from any of this information, please share.
Yeah, definitely share, because it's such important information people don't know, and this is affecting so many people. I was going to say one quick thing, and I know this is the wrong time to put this in, but I just thought of it. We do go through cycles throughout our life, and when you're in the teenage cycle and your hormones are crazy, that's because you're ramping up and you're starting to be able to have children, right? And then you go through that period of your life where you can have children, and both men and women that's your goal, really, on a very, hundreds of thousands of years ago level. It was to produce, right? Produce a strong new person. And then you get to the point, like at my age, where you now can't produce children. So there is a fluctuation in hormones in your body, because you don't need to produce children anymore. Whereas men at my age can still produce children. So maybe maybe their libido is still way up and ours isn't quite what it used to be, but it doesn't have to be low either. There's that. So you can kind of think about the natural cycle of things, because that's real, that is real. But anyway, I just want to throw that in there. Okay. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and sorry about the lag in the beginning, but hopefully we won't have that next week.
Yes. All right.
Have a good day.
Time.